Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show. I'm your host, Christine Innes, and I'm really excited to have you here today. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day or evening to come and join us. And I have the very beautiful Carmel joining me today. So thank you, lovely, for coming on. And, I know we're going to have an amazing conversation, talking about, just, leaving corporate, but also, some of the pitfalls it is, personally, but also, going into business as well. So I'm going to hand over to Carmel to do an introduction about herself, and then we can get this amazing conversation started. So thank you, Carmel, for joining us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited. So a little intro about me. My name is Carmel Murphy, and as you can hear by my voice, I'm Irish by birth, but I live in Australia now. So my brief introduction in terms of being in corporate. So my corporate positions, I've been in management and leadership for many, many years. I was a state manager of a recruitment company. I was a business coach, regional manager for a restaurant company. Very well-paid jobs, very high-pressure jobs. However, there was always something missing. So I was always on the rush and the adrenaline of getting stuff done, but I was getting stuff done for somebody else in the end. So in the last few years, which we'll go through, I'm sure, later, I've decided that no more, I'm not working for the man. I've had enough. But it hasn't always been an easy thing to jump off that. So I've been in leadership and management for, goodness me, over 35 years. So big step to step out of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that, what you said is that you constantly are like on the go, and it is like that when you're working for somebody else, because it is their goals, their dreams, their destination that you want to get to. And you feel like you have to keep constantly running. And then when you actually sort of stop, take that breath, I guess, and just sort of go, why am I doing this? Like, why am I running myself down for somebody else's dreams and not following my own?
Yeah, and oftentimes, and especially I have 3 children, and I was a single mom for a lot of that time too. Trying to, in the hospitality industry was a lot of my work. So, coming home at 2 a.m. after finishing a shift and having to be up at 6 a.m. to get my son to a cricket game that was the other side of the city. And quite often I'd be there in a minute and I'd be flaked out in the car, and because I was just so exhausted, and it's just running on that adrenaline. And as you say, then finding, well, what am I doing it for somebody else for? So yeah, but there comes with that a little bit of fear of,
Yes.
if I step out on my own, will I make it? If I, as a single mom, if I lose the roof over my children's head, I couldn't take that chance for a lot of years, so it held me in fear.
Yeah, and fear consumes us so much because it's the fear of the unknown, it's the fear of what people are going to think, but also too, we are comfortable creatures. Like, as human beings, we like being comfortable, and when we have to learn to be totally uncomfortable, and I take it back, like when you're learning to drive a car, like you're really nervous and you're sort of, super conscious of everything that's around you. And then all of a sudden, you start getting more comfortable and you go, oh, this is easy. Yeah. And you become complacent. And that's what can happen, I think, when you're working for somebody else. You can become so complacent, and it's just I sleepwalking through life is how I also describe it.
Yeah. And it's like there's levels of consciousness and competency, and it becomes an unconscious competence, as in we don't even know that we're doing it anymore. Like I always say to people, if you get up and brush your teeth, if you think about it for a minute, which side do you start brushing your teeth with? Try it on the other side for once. And it is that uncomfortable feeling of, oh, this isn't right. And we just create shortcuts, because the brain creates shortcuts, so that we're not overwhelmed by all the information all the time. And we just create habits that become so automatic. And I relate so much to driving the car, because I drive a manual. And now sometimes I remember kind of going, oh my God, how did I get here? It becomes so unconscious. You're going, I don't even remember the trip that I got here. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is quite easy when you're sort of, you know, in the normal sort of like daily sort of 9 to 5 type routine, and, you know, we create these routines ourselves. But then obviously when you step in and, you know, decide that you're actually going to take that leap of faith. And I mean, you don't want to take us back to that moment that, you know, for you, where you decided that, no, I've drawn that line in the sand and gone, okay, I need to make a difference, because for me, it was just, it was forced because I got quite sick. But I know that you know, there is like that line in the sand moment that we all have, and just go, okay, I need a change.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I remember it so well because I was in the recruitment position. So we had, at that time, Perth was in a really high, you know, there was work everywhere. Anyone could get any amount of money, and especially in the mining industry. So it was a recruitment agency for hospitality type people. So at that time we had 450 temp staff.
Wow.
And obviously we had the permanent staff going as well. So we would provide staff to the likes of the WACA, which is the Western Australia Cricket Arena. We would provide the staff for the footy grounds. You name it, we would provide the staff. So we could have 100 staff going to one venue at one time. Mm-hmm. So a service we provided was, we had an after hours phone as well. So we had a 24-hour phone, because the casino area was 24/7. So they could ring us at 5 in the morning and say, I need a bartender. Mm-hmm. So we would rotate this phone. So as state manager, I had the after hours phone. We'd have a list of people on standby. I had my state manager phone, and obviously I had my personal phone. So I had worked previously in the casino area. And I remember this night in particular, people just kept ringing, I need a chef, I need a bartender, I need a this, I need a that. And I'm on the phone, and the next thing, the state manager phone is ringing as well, because they couldn't get through on this phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm running out of people on standby at this stage. And I remember having the two phones going, and my personal phone rang as well, because the guys in the casino had my personal phone number. And I just remember standing there, and I actually burst into tears once I hung up the phone, of course. And I went, I can't keep doing this. Mm. I just can't. Because I was a nervous wreck, is probably the best way to do it. Mm. And I went searching for something then. It's like, what else? And when we open up to opportunities, we can actually begin to see them. And the things were always there, but I never saw them. So I actually discovered coaching was what I decided to do. And I went and started studying that. But it took me a while from there to actually leave permanently. I left that job shortly after that. But I tried to work on my own, but I wasn't ready for that. I didn't know the steps. I didn't know the foundation that I needed to put down to be ready. And then did the whole failure. I went back to work again and began that seesaw for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that we really highlight to people to say that, like, we will have that moment in the sand, but sometimes that moment is there, but we are just not ready to be able to take that leap, or we don't have the tools, we don't have the knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with that, because when you step into the unknown, there is this sort of pool below us that we sort of go, we don't know what we're jumping into. We don't know what's at the bottom. We don't know, you know, is there something that's going to come and bite? Like, you know, there's so many different things. But it's all a learning curve for us. And if we can learn from those experiences, so that the next time that we actually do decide to take that leap of faith, we're so much better equipped for it. And
yeah. And it's more than that. It's actually the people around you will quite often, and my dad was an instance of this. So my dad had worked in a job for 35, 40 years, whatever, and took voluntary retirement, yada, normal. And he was petrified for me to do, and even the fact of, in hospitality is quite a transient industry. So sometimes I'd change jobs after 18 months. There'd always be, you know, a higher job. And he was always saying to me, oh my God, you can't change jobs. What's wrong with you? You have to stay in the same job. So you'll get people around you and understanding that it's not, they don't want the best for you, but they're scared because they don't know something else. But everything starts with a thought. So once you've decided in your head there's something different, then you'll start looking for it. And just, if I was to give my past self a hint, it'd be just go at the speed of grace, as in, don't put yourself into debt or don't put yourself into financial hardship to do it, but just keep moving, knowing that you're going forward. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not the size of the steps. It's actually just knowing that you're getting to that end destination. And everybody's journey is so different. And I don't think that it's fair for people to constantly, and we all do it, you know, we always sort of compare ourselves to others, or, you know, going, well, they got here this quickly, they got here that quickly. But in a world full of social media where there's filters, there's, you know, you only see the best, you don't get to see the raw stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And people need to remember that just these people who maybe, you know, they're successful, there's probably a lot of shit that's happened, you know, along the way, like, you know, to really get into it.
Absolutely. And I call it fake book. And I say that with respect, as in, yes, it's great in the social media and the interaction in it, but it is only the best side. And I had this conversation when I was running an event the other night, and we were talking about vulnerability. And sometimes people think vulnerability is going up and saying, oh, I don't feel well. Well, that's not it. It's actually speaking your truth, but in a way that it allows other people and strong women, and that's where I come from, a space of, because it's, oh, you're a strong woman, you can handle everything. Well, no. Underneath, there were times that I was vulnerable too, and it's being able to say, you know what, I'm feeling a bit wobbly today. I know I'll be fine, but I need some help and support today. And it's the ability of being able to say that without fear of somebody going, oh, she's losing her marbles. And it gives other people permission to move it. I love Brené Brown. I'm sure a lot of people will have heard of Brené Brown and the things she talks about in the arena. And that's how I see myself a lot of the time. Like, I'm bruised and broken. I have the marks here, but I'm ready to go. And I stuff it up still to this day. But not taking action, to me, has more pain attached to it than the discomfort of moving and taking steps and staying where I am. And some of that comes from some family situations and deaths in the family that have made me wake up and go, what? This isn't what it's all about.
Yeah, I totally resonate. I think when we first started talking and you were sharing your story, like, so much of it hit home, because the fact is that, you know, so much shit happened in my life that have just like compounded it. But I could have stayed there and I could have sat there and you play the victim for me, why that? Whereas I've turned that and been able to learn from that experience, and it's made me you know, a stronger, more resilient type of person. But there are days where I sit there and I'm like going, I need a breather, or I need someone to come in.
What am I doing?
Yeah, like going, come on, like seriously, like, you know, that mean girl voice goes off in my head and tells me all the stuff that, you know, and it's about having coping mechanisms. And I love what you said, you know, the community and people around you that are there to really support you and to up level you, because I think that if I didn't expand my network out to people, I wouldn't be where I am today, and constantly taking more steps forwards and more leaps of faith, and, you know, betting on myself more. Because you can get stuck.
You do get stuck. And look, just to briefly share a tiny bit of it, that one of my biggest things was in 2016, my beautiful sister was diagnosed with terminal illness. And 15 months later passed away. Now, that was, as you can understand, quite an emotional journey. But when she passed, the most amazing thing happened. And I say this to people sometimes and they kind of go, what? I said, one of the best things that happened to me was my sister passing, as well as the worst, because it opened up a part of me. It broke me open, I'll be honest, because my poor dad died 6 weeks later, but it broke my vulnerability, my hard shell, if you like, open in such a way that I've had deeper, more vulnerable, more open relationships with women since that I never had before. I have a different thing. And it is what has propelled me and made me, because she was 58 years old when she passed away. And it brought my own, started thinking with myself, well, my own mortality into question. She had done everything. She had worked for years. She had made sure she had all her insurances ready for retirement. And I went, what are we doing? Well, there's no big trophy at the end of all this. What am I doing? So I retired from being people pleasing and thought, you know what? With all due respect, I trust and I respect your journey, but I don't care what you think about me anymore, because I need to take steps or I will die inside, and I'm not going to die with the song still in me. So that's one of been my biggest pusher to actually move forward. And I'm so grateful to my sister for that, because somewhere in me thinks, well, she needed to do that to give me a kick in the butt. I don't know. But it was really a defining moment of, we get into this hustle and this bustle and everything, and we lose sight of life has to be on the way, not in the way. What are we doing trying to be this person we perceive somebody else wants us to be? And I say, stop that. No, I am me. I'm authentic. I go out and try and help other people, but I also know that I have a lot to give and help other people myself. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me, because, you know, I mean, our stories are similar, but obviously the circumstances are different. But I think when we use their pain to be able to serve us and to really appreciate just the tiny little things that we have in life, and to really be present in the moment and not constantly thinking. And I'm such a planner. Like, I love, you know, I have diaries everywhere, you know, and, you know, try and plan as much as I possibly can. But there is times where I need to just take stock, and I just need to be present in that moment, present in conversations that you're having, presence when you're experiencing something new, and actually allowing yourself to feel it, because otherwise...
You need to plan that. You need to plan that.
Absolutely. But I've got the ability now where I know when I'm over planning things, and I know that, you know, I need to, you know, when I'm with my family, I know that phone's away, you know, and I'm present with them and actually enjoying the stupid conversations, you know, and it's you know, just the fun and the laughter and all that sort of stuff, because that is what real life is all about. It's not about planning for, you know, retirement. It's about having these beautiful connections and moments in life. And that's why I really love, and I'm so grateful that we get to, you know, bring your story out so that people can actually start appreciating those moments more, opposed to planning every little minute detail with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And you got to have fun. One of my middle names would be fun. I see the most ridiculous things, and maybe it's just my head, but I can make them fun. And I am fortunate. I have grandchildren now as well. And, oh, goodness, to actually take the time to observe children in their innocence, and the things that they come out with no filters, it just opens up, oh my God, why are we have all this bullshit around us and beliefs? And I get that they come from the circumstances we've been in, but take time to watch some small children. It can actually be quite insightful.
Oh, absolutely. I picked my niece up from the school bus the other day, and we're walking down, and she goes, is there any treats? And I'm like going, oh, I don't know. She goes, well, you've got Nutella. And I said to her, yeah, I do. And she's like, just having, you know, I mean, it sounds so minute, but you're having this fun conversation and we're joking about it. And she goes, what if I just have one teaspoon? Like, it's just those sort of innocent conversations. And otherwise you could just go, yeah, no, you're not having it. But just to enlighten them, and then they actually allow to for you to bring that child out of you and to have that fun, to, you know, loosen up a little bit and to, you know.
Yeah, it's so good. And look, I'm really fortunate. My partner is, he could probably plant you in the ground and grow you. Like, he's just a natural green thumb. So we grow a lot of our own veggies, and we have chickens and ducks and things like that. So when I have my grandson over, he's out exploring, and the places he thinks of going just to look for eggs, I wouldn't even think of going there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's pure joy. That's the best way it's pure joy to let down your guards, put down your to-do list, and just be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't allow ourselves to do that enough.
No. And I really loved it how you thought that it's coming back to you and allowing you to shine, and it's letting go of other people's expectations. And I think a lot of the time in life that our fear is our own judgment within ourselves, and judgment of what other people are going to think, judgment of how people are going to react to what we're doing. And I mean, you and I are both in a very important role, you know, as both being coaches, and to really, you know, be vulnerable, raw and open and share our stories. But when we can actually show people that, you know what, it's okay to be you. You don't need to be anybody else, because who wants to try and pretend to be somebody else when you actually get to live your life and you get to be you, and people actually love you and accept you for yourself. And that can actually be quite a hard thing to take on board, and to look in the mirror going, you know what, you're perfectly imperfect. And okay.
I love that. Yeah.
You know?
And it is exactly okay to be like that, because I had the highest compliment paid to me last weekend when somebody said they had only ever experienced me online and by voice only, in a lot of webinars and things like that. They hadn't actually seen my face, and they went, oh my God, you're exactly as I imagined you would be, and you are the exact same here as you are there. And I was like, oh, that's kind of the highest compliment, because, and it's not that we put on falsities, it's because we put on masks to actually protect ourselves. And we have an illusion of, if they knew the real me, they wouldn't like me. And that's bullshit, because nobody actually knows who the real me is. We just have all different kind of selves, and this sounds a little bit weird sometimes, it's like the voices in my head. But our biggest judgment voice in our head is usually ourselves.
Yes.
We make assumptions and we think that if we go against somebody else's judgment, like if your parents think you have to do X, Y, Z, we have an illusion that we think it's going to be a confrontational conversation. But it doesn't have to be. We can say it in a calm way. It's like, oh, you know what? I'd love to do that, but I have this to do, and I'm just going to do this today. We can say it like that instead of, no, I'm not doing what you tell me. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I can so relate, because I think, you know, I'd always worked in corporate, and I'd had this idea that you go to work, you build your career, you have the house, you have the family, like, you know, all that sort of stuff. So when it all came crashing down, and then I made the decision that I was not going to go back into corporate. And there was reasons behind it. I didn't want it to affect my health again. But in saying that, I actually had to find who I was without my job title. And it was the biggest and one of the hardest things to actually do, to actually express who I was without actually saying my job title. And I actually realized that I was actually a multi-layered person, opposed to this sort of one-dimensional sort of fit in a nice little box, you know. There's more layers to me, and it's fun, and it's exciting, and it's, you know, I can be the playful, but I can also be the serious person, or I can be, you know, the mum, I can be the aunt, like all that sort of stuff, but I can also just sit there and have a good laugh at myself too. Like, you know, I'm not going to take myself that too serious. So.
And I do that often, and you go, well, Carmel, that wasn't your best decision. But that's okay. It's like, well, and I often say to people, I used to get really upset about that. They go, what's different now? I said, I just cut out the middle bit, and I go, I know I'll eventually get over it, so I just go to the getting over it and getting past it.
Yeah.
And that's just their habits. If I was to share anything with anyone to help them to get there, it's just understand their habits. And we are kept in a way educated to be smaller than we perceive we are, because that keeps us in our place almost. That's how society kind of teaches us, because everyone can't be doing everything. Everyone can't be the boss of everything. There'll be no workers left. So just understanding that that's kind of the environment we've been in has programmed us that way, not in a negative way. That's just how we've lived. And if you can go outside it and stretch that elastic band and then stretch it to the size, I spoke about this the other day. I said, stretch it that, won't stretch anymore. And the person that I was coaching said, oh, you mean like a baggy knickers? And I went, yeah. But that the elastic just can't go back anymore.
Yeah.
Then you're outside and you're in that place of even bigger growth for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, we're very aligned in, how we want to perceive and like really make a big change and create that ripple effect. Sort of, I say around the world, because I want, so many people, and it's not just women, it's men and women, to be able to take stock and to go, you know what, life is for living. Life is for you to have that spark and joy and to do what you want to do. And a lot of people, especially when you're a parent as such, because you want to give to your children and you take a step back. But one of the things that I've learned is going, well, if I can show my son, I mean, he's already grown up now, but if I show him that giving back to me and following my passion, look how much happier I am, look how much more, alive I feel. And I think that sort of sets something off in them to go, you know what, it's not actually being selfish. You are actually just owning yourself and realizing that you are just as important as anybody else. And we should,
absolutely,
I mean, I think, you can relate, we do tend to put so many other people first, but we have to come back to ourselves and give to us first before we can help anybody else.
Absolutely. And we do have the different masks. So we're mom, we're sister, we're partner, and there comes a time, and like, while I don't not help men, I do as well, but I predominantly, my avatar is a woman, because I think that we do lose who we are. And we're like, well, okay, if I haven't got the job, if I'm not mom, if I'm not wife, who the hell am I? And it takes a little bit of deciphering and a little bit of peeling back of the layers of the onion to actually get down to who that is. And we search for this massive purpose and that sort of thing. And while I'm not saying we don't have purpose, if we don't know who we are and what the yearning is, well, then it makes the roadmap a little bit more difficult to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. And, that's probably one of being the biggest things I know with myself, is just finding out who I was. Because if I didn't know who I was, I wouldn't be doing what I am today, because I would have just so easily gone back into the corporate world, so easily fallen back into that sort of job. But now you start to sort of go, no, you know what, like, I am, like, when you start saying I am too, that's really powerful for people. So I just want people to know that I am means that you're living in the present and owning it. But I know that I am a caring person. I am a kind person. Like, all those different sorts of things that define who you are without a label is so important to get down to sort of like the root of who you are. And, you want to be that root because you want to be planted in the ground and be strong, stable, so that you can stand tall and really own it.
And that is really important to actually, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. You can find you and do all that and plant yourself in the ground, and you're so right in that way, but you also, gosh, it's the most challenging thing to describe. People feel like they failed when they go back to work because the business didn't work. But the actual harder, I'm going to say that in inverted commas, choice is to actually stay on the path of being in your own business, or whatever that is for you. If you don't want to be in your own business, that's cool. But if that is something that you want to do, it's the harder option. People think going back to work is the hard option. No, it's the harder option to stay there, or to do the cha-cha, as I like to call it. And sometimes it's 2 steps back to 1 step forward. Go back to work and give yourself a foundation while you're still preparing your dream. It never ends. People say, oh, but Carmel, I'm getting too old. How old is too old? Compared to what? What are you measuring it against?
Yeah.
Life is going to, 12 months will disappear, 2 years will disappear, if you stay still or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes that we tend to think we have to stay on one pathway, but the pathway can actually branch off but still bring you back to that end destination. And that's okay, because we can all take these detours. And I mean, if you put in a destination in your GPS, you're generally going to get more than one sort of route to take.
Options, yeah.
This is, you know, like this is what life is about. It's about setting that destination, and then you can make the choices of, you might turn left here instead of turning right. Like that's okay, because you're owning it and you're taking that control and saying, for the time being, this is where I need to be. And it doesn't mean you're not going to get to that end destination. It might just take a little bit more time. And
the end destination might even change.
Oh, absolutely.
You might decide that that's not where you want to go because you didn't know the other option was available.
Yeah, true. It's like better scenery down the road. I'm going to go to that beach, you know, instead of going here.
Exactly.
Look, you know, even just in the last couple of months, like my destination has changed. And it's actually quite exciting, because you go, look at, you know, I thought that I could go to this one place, but I'm actually expanding my horizon and going somewhere else that's going to give me more back. And, you know, it's scary, it's exciting, you get nervous, and, you know, all those beautiful emotions that come up. I think people just need to remember that it's okay to take little detours. It's okay to change the destination.
Yeah, absolutely. And get yourself a mentor of somebody that has at least gone part of the way to where you say you want to go. So they have something proven. So many people talk about, you know, oh, we're in this mastermind group. I'm going, that's great. Who's the mastermind? You know, you're in a community group. If somebody in there has not been ahead of where you are, or, you know, on the way to where you want to go. So I work with a mentor consistently. He has built 4 businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses from the ground up. So yeah, I want some of that. Yes. If you're not with somebody like that at some stage, and they don't have to be multimillionaires, as long as they are doing something in the field you want to do, and they're ahead of where you are already, well then go and work with them.
Yes.
Because it's really vital. Otherwise, people around you will want to keep you safe and tell you to stay where you are.
Yeah, honestly, I just had a conversation about that just before, and I think it's so true that you need to follow the people that have actually been on the journey beforehand, so you can learn from them. And, you know, most of the time these mentors are very open about the pitfalls, and they're very open about things that have actually gone wrong, and that's what you want to learn from, because
absolutely.
Then you can sort of by-step some of those and sort of follow the successful pathway. Yeah, absolutely.
But
there's no fast track in life. Like, I think so many people they like quick, you know.
Quick, easy now. And that's what everyone will sell you, is the quick, easy now. But there is no quick, easy now.
Yeah.
But when you have a mentor, what I mean by that is they'll know some of the pitfalls, so they can A, warn you, and B, help pick you up when you've gone down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because quite often we get stuck down there. That's what happens.
Yes. Yeah. And it's very easy when I always say that for myself as being a coach, I actually get in the trenches with them and actually can show them, like, and talk them through how to get out, because you've been there before. And that's really what these mentors do, because, you know, they've been there, they can show you, they can guide you. And even if you do get into that lull, they can just go, you know what, like, snap out of it, you'll be right. Like, follow this and you can get back on track again. So, that's beautiful. What would you say, so as we sort of, you know, wrap things up, and I could probably talk to you all day, because I absolutely think that we're so in alignment, like, with everything, you know. But what would you say, like, for somebody who, you know, is in corporate and they're not sure, like they may not want to actually go and work for somebody else, but they need to have a change. Like, is there something that they can start to do now, you know, to sort of really identify, you know,
I would get themselves into some kind of environment that has access to different people. So, for example, whether it might be a networking group, or I'm in Perth in WA, so there's a lot of groups for women in business, for example, so they don't have to have their own business. So I run events myself, and it's for strong women, and they come, so some of them are wanting to step out of, some of them have started stepping out of, and they're going, I've stepped out, I've taken the jump, but oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. So get into some kind of environment like that to test the water and say, hey, is this the kind of thing I want to do? Is this not the kind of thing I want to do? By getting into environments like that, then you can test and measure.
I love that.
Because staying in your own environment, you just won't.
No, and just being around that like-minded people as well is actually I found that probably one of the most powerful things as well, because you feed off their energy and you listen to
absolutely.
stories, and you grow and develop just by being surrounded by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm just afraid my phone's going to run out.
Oh, that's okay. We're going to quickly wrap up anyway, and I would love to have you back anyway, because I think there's a lot more conversations that we can have to really, you know, allow women to really, you know, rise up with
absolutely
men as well, like to sort of, you know, start stepping into their own power and to really start taking charge back and be present in the moment to do it. So I just want to say a big thank you so much, like, for joining me today and giving up your time. I really do appreciate it. And I will be putting all of your details down the bottom of the video so people can get in contact with you. They can find out about your events, you know, follow you on, you know, social media and all. So, but thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. So
thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
My absolute pleasure. I'm so honoured and privileged to be able to have this role. I want to thank everyone who's come and joined us today for this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show. As I said, I'm your host, Christine Innes, and just to remember to live life to the fullest. So love and light to you all, and we'll be back next week for another episode.
Bye.